then he hires Clyde Tombaugh.
Оці поламані наушники?
And he dies, so he doesn't see the results of this. Clyde Tombaugh said, I can't find it either. I will just systematically search everywhere. Because if you think something's affecting you gravitationally, you ought to have some idea where it is to be tugging on you in that way. Right? That's not some kind of weird. It's like you're moving differently. Where must the thing be to tug on you so that you're moving in that way? No one could find such a planet X. So Clyde Tombaugh said, it's got to be out there somewhere. I'll systematically image the entire sky. All right? But you got to do it on multiple nights because if something's moving, you see it change. One picture to next. He does this. Discovers Pluto. Was Pluto where Planet X was supposed to be? No. Was Pluto the mass that Planet X should have been? Everyone assumed it was. But over the decades, the mass of Pluto got lower and lower and lower as our estimates got more and more accurate. Then we found out that Pluto is 1/5 the mass of our moon, made of half ice. And this is why Pluto got into trouble later in the 20th century. It's not because we had some vendetta against Pluto. Pluto just never belonged in that list to begin with. That's really how you need to think about it. Anyhow, there's still the matter of Neptune's orbit. Pluto did not have enough mass to make those changes. So the search for Planet X continued. So what happened? All right.
Now we're secured.
1993.
That thing ain't falling down.
A colleague of mine named Miles Standish. Okay? He's probably related to the Miles Standish on the Mayflower. He is an astrophysicist, looked at all of the data people were using to say Neptune's orbit was crooked. Looked at all the data. Then he found out that at one particular observatory, was it the gearbox or the timing mechanism, had just been cleaned or swapped out. Or there's some, because in the observing log, you write down everything, because you just don't know. Okay, was there a glitch in the current? Was there a bird fly over? You make notes of everything. One of the observatories whose data was being grafted together with the other observatories had this sort of gearbox. I don't remember if it was a gearbox. It was some mechanical adjustment that was made. He said, I wonder if that had an effect on the positioning of this telescope. He removed those data from his analysis and fitted data to all the other telescopes that he had for the positions of Uranus, of Neptune. When he did that, Planet X evaporated in that instant. In that instant. There was no Planet X. All the other data, when he connects across, removing the data from the one where the observing log said they did something different, Neptune fell right on to Newton's laws. And so since 1993, there is no Planet X. And Pluto, and were it not for that, we probably would have been a long time before we discovered Pluto, because no one would have looked for it.
They found another, like...
Let me just finish what was it? The lesson there.
Okay.
The lesson there is you have information that you think is correct from your sensors. This was an observatory, a fine observatory. And you're going to say, this observatory says Neptune is misbehaving. But then you learned there was something wrong with the data. You throw it out. So I'm trying to say, this happens all the time in science. You have to be careful what you're analyzing before you declare that what the thing measured is true, and then realign all your resources to address what you think is true. But it might have just simply been a glitch, or multiple glitches, or anything. And we do this all the time in science. So you were saying?
Well, several things. One, when we're talking about planetoids and planets, the idea about Pluto is that Pluto is part of the Kuiper Belt, right?
It's the first and currently known largest member of the Kuiper Belt. And it makes sense. You know, we didn't even know the Kuiper Belt existed in 1930.
Yeah.
So for us, it's just the 9th planet. And it's the tiniest and the littlest, and it's got a weird orbit that crosses the orbit of other planets, and that's a little weird, but we'll grandfather it in. Okay, Pluto. And then, wait a minute, you have brethren. The 1990s, we discovered other objects out there with similar orbits to Pluto. So maybe Pluto is not the 9th planet, it's the first object in a new swath of real estate discovered in the outer solar system called the Kuiper Belt. That's where it stands right now.
And this Kuiper belt, there was some speculation. Now I read this quite a while ago, so forgive me. But there was some speculation that we might be in some sort of a binary star system, and there might be like a burnt out star that's way, way, way outside of our solar system.
Yeah, I mean
And that's causing the galactic shelf to drop off. Like this Kuiper belt is responding to some other gravity that's way out there. Is that correct?
So
Did I garble all that up?
you mix like 3 or 4 different scenarios.
That's common for me.
There was a while there where we looked at the extinction records of species on Earth and found some periodicity to it. I forgot, was it every 20 million years or something? There was some period that repeated where the fossil record showed a dramatic drop, or a mild drop in the species count from one layer to the next in the geological sediment. And so, if this has a rhythm to it, there is nothing in the solar system that has a 20 million year rhythm. So someone suggested maybe the sun has a really eccentric, as in its orbit, it's in a binary star system where there's another star that plunges in through the solar system, coming through the Kuiper belt, and then goes back out in this dance with the sun. So we wouldn't have seen it in our civilization, because this is right. But when it does that, it disrupts the Kuiper belt gravitationally. And if you do that, you'll send a rain of comets down, a higher than average rate of comets down into the inner solar system, and then you could render many life forms extinct on Earth, just the way we lost the dinosaurs from an asteroid. So, and they even gave a name for it. They called it Nemesis. That was the Nemesis double star system of the sun. But so we took a closer look at the data. Turned out it had been filtered in a way that revealed rhythms that were not really there. And if it's orbital, the rhythm should be perfect, because Newton's law doesn't mess around, and they weren't exactly right. So that concept is evaporated, but it got people going for a while. It got a lot of press attention.
And the part about the Kuiper belt, about the galactic shelf, that there seems to be some sort of a drop off.
Okay, so now with regard to another scenario which got folded into this is that our orbit around the galaxy is not sort of a straight circle, I mean, a clean circle. We actually wave in and out of the plane of the galaxy. All right, like imagine sort of Nessie, Loch Ness monster doing that. Okay. So imagine that. So our orbit, our entire solar system, is dipping up and out and through. So another suggestion was, in fact, I think there's an entire book on this. Forgive me for not remembering the name. It suggested that the entire solar system, as it passes through the plane of the galaxy, that disrupts the Kuiper belt as well, and that lodges, basically the Kuiper belt starts lobbing comets down into the inner solar system, and so you can look for that in the extinction record as well. So, and it was suggested that that might have been what took out the dinosaurs, one of those kind of passages through. So, but anyhow, yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of excuses for killing the dinosaurs.
Yeah, for sure.
Out there.
When you think about this idea of everyone having these video cameras in their pocket and high resolution imagery, and then where is that stuff? But the absence of evidence isn't necessarily evidence of absence.
It can be. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Because that's a mantra,
Right.
all right? And in science, so philosophically, that's true. But in practice, in science, we do that all the time. Okay? So I'll give an example. It's a contrived example, but it's a clean example. There's a cave nearby. You're a mountain man, all right? And there's a cave nearby. And you're worried it might have bears in it. So you don't want to go poking around. So you conduct some experiments. So here's what you do. You put chalk dust around the entrance to the cave, and you check it every day for a month, and there are no bear prints in the chalk dust. Winter comes, okay, and you notice there are no footprints in the snow. Of course, well, maybe the bear snuck in and you didn't see it and it's hibernating. That could be so, perhaps. Well, you wait until springtime. So you keep doing this without ever going in the cave, and you have no evidence of a bear going in and out of that cave over a normal cycle of time that a bear might go in and out of the cave. That is evidence of absence, in a sense. Okay?
In a very specific place.
Correct. So at that point, you'd say, well, I didn't go in the cave to check, but I have enough evidence to say the bear is not there.
Right.
So it's the thing where you can't prove a negative. I kind of just did. I'm saying there is no bear there, and did I prove it in a fully logical mathematical sense? No. But scientifically, I've gathered enough information to convince me there's no bear in the cave, and I will operate on that assumption going forward. And so much science happens that way, and it works.
And you think that's a valid way to dismiss the lack of UFO evidence because these people have these phones and they're just all filming and taking photographs of things constantly?
Why
would
happen? You can ask. You're perfectly allowed to say what would happen if we were visited by aliens, and you crowdsourced the access to aliens among 7 billion people in the world. Okay?
How many people are out in the middle of the ocean?
You have. So I was going to get to that. Have you ever seen the flight path of airplanes in a single day, single
Yeah, it's
24
pretty
hours?
wild.
It is completely wild. It's
Nuts.
like, what the? If you show this to the Wright brothers from 1903, dude. Across the oceans, of course, there are traffic paths, right, where you're more likely to find them than in other paths because there's either no destination there
Right.
or the Great Circle route doesn't favor it. But you look at how often